Yeah. Hello. We're recording this in February, which means of 2017, which means it's time for Game of the Year 2016. All four of us have a top 10 list, and we're going to talk about why we like those things on our top 10 list and sort of promote the game a little bit. That's going to be like the individual list. And then at the end, we're going to sort of mix and match and try and come to an agreement on what the overall top 10 should be between our top 10s.
Or at the very least, top 3, I think.
If you really enjoy hearing the phrase top 10, this is going to be a hell of a treat for you, I think.
Heck yeah.
If you don't, well, sorry.
If you don't, shameless plug, I did a top 5 video about 2016. Watch that instead. Top 5 is a way better phrase.
Nah, it hasn't got that alliteration. Now that we're about a minute in, this is on the TheYukiverse's channel. We're also joined by Train and Agent White.
Hello.
I'm none of those people, and I don't even know if I want to keep the same internet alias as I've been using for ages, so I'm just going to be Reese today.
Yeah, that's fine.
Hey.
Everyone knows who Reese is.
Exactly. Does anyone want to start, by the way?
Yeah.
Any preference?
Well, I figure if we should go in a continuous order. So,
Yeah.
I don't mind going first, and then I know someone else can claim it.
How
We just go
about
like
we
that.
start with Sam, and then we go in the order that our names are on the Discord?
That'll be different for everyone, won't it?
Yeah.
Oh, is it actually? Oh, it's
Well,
not.
Wait,
because
no.
on mine,
Next-
it's me, then Yuki, then Reese, then Train.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That is
Yeah.
super different.
All right, I'll go second then. And then you two can battle out for third and fourth.
I don't really care. I guess I'll go third.
All right, fourth it is. Sam, let's start with your number 10.
Okay, my number 10 pick is Overwatch.
Damn it, I thought I was going to be first to mention it.
Nope. I can't deny it's a good game. I can't deny I've had a lot of fun playing it. The reason it's so low on my list is because I am still really disappointed at the level of content that's actually in the game. And frankly, the only reason I play it is because it means I can hang out with you guys.
Two of us.
Well, two of you, but I know Reese also plays it. So we can sort of bond on that kind of level. But yeah, it's like the content's fun. I just don't think there's enough of I'm still kind of annoyed I spent 40 quid on it because it's all multiplayer. But that's me breaking a lot of habits. But I can't deny it's a good game, so it goes on the list. Begrudgingly.
I'm worried about getting into the super nitty-gritty of Overwatch because I really suspect you're not the only person who's got it on their list.
Really?
So, like, if people wanted to comment, I almost feel like reserve it for the people who have higher up. Like, we've got Sam's input on his perspective, but the general discussion, I think, should come on whoever has it highest on their list.
That'll be me.
That's my opinion.
I only said what I did to justify why I put it as low as I did.
No, I'm going to be doing exactly the same when I talk about it, so it's good that we're on the same wavelength.
We're on a wavelength, you and I.
Well then, I guess then it's me.
It is.
My number 10 is a cheat because I'm going to talk about Gravity Rush Remastered, a game that came out before on the Vita, but I only played because it came out on PS4 earlier this year in February. Now, Gravity Rush is a very interesting game. It's a sandbox-style superhero kind of game that's all about bent around altering gravity and basically changing the direction upon which you fall. And while it's very interesting, it's very fun, it has some unique mechanics. It just very much feels like a tech demo. There's a lot of stuff to it that doesn't really, matter. There's a whole bunch of plots introduced that's never really properly resolved. And there's just not a whole lot to do in the game itself, which is why I was really excited for the second game that I'm still midway through playing, and I'm going to reserve judgment on that for hopefully next year. But yeah, there's lots of it has to offer, but not enough at the present moment. I'm hoping it will continue on as franchise will explore and develop because it's such a unique concept, altering gravity in a sandbox style area, being able to
Tell me about altering gravity. Is it like VVV style or?
How do you mean VVV? It's like
Like you
It's
flip
like-
a switch and gravity suddenly goes upwards.
No,
and
no, no,
that's what it has instead of jumping.
You can completely change the direction upon which gravity for yourself and anything around you affects. So if you say point up and click, you and everything around you will now fly up and go in that direction. And then you can use this to fly around. You can use this completely like change directions. You can use this to pick up objects and throw them. You can use this to manipulate entire things. It's got a lot of promise as a premise. But like I said, there's just not much to the core game. The first one, I should specify, Gravity Rush 2 is out at this point, and as I said, I am playing it, but until I finish it, I'll reserve any judgment on it for now.
Yeah, I've had the sequel advertised to me as "You're not flying, you're falling with style."
I mean, when you got an ad campaign that genius,
Yeah.
That actually sounds really good, and it makes me jealous that I don't have a Vita, actually.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the negativity corner, where I've only
I
played 10
know,
games
right?
this year, so some of them are shit. Specifically, my number 10, the biggest disappointment in video games, I think, in my entire life, I want to say.
Oh, God.
No
Pokken
Man's
Tournament.
Sky. Oh,
What did you say, Yuki?
Pokken Tournament.
Oh, God.
Oh shit.
This game, when they announced this, I was like, okay, so it's Tekken, my favourite fighting game franchise, and Pokemon, my favourite video game franchise. How could they possibly get it wrong?
By having one of those statements be a lie.
Yeah, they very much did that. I mean, it has 10 characters? I guess I can't really complain about it having a small roster of... No, it's 12, I think. But
Yeah.
early fighting games had small casts. I expected, if it's good, they'll release more or whatever. That's fine. But something about that game, it's not fun to play. It's not fun to play against people. Like, you think, I had friends who had the game. I don't think I ever played against any of you once.
By the time I got it, you already hated it, so that's the only other person I'd have played it with.
I went into that game. I even got the special controller they had for it, and I went into it thinking I'm gonna, because they had it at Worlds and Nationals and stuff. I thought if I screw up playing TCG at Nationals, I was gonna play that. I was gonna be like, I'm gonna get into competitive of this. The game's just started. It's a new game. There won't already be pre-competitive players. It's fine. And then it was garbage, and then I died a little inside.
Aren't Mewtwo and Shadow Mewtwo separate characters in that game?
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel that that's enough of a comment.
I mean that's Tekken in a nutshell, though, because Kuma and Panda are separate characters.
No, they're mostly on the same slot actually, because they have the same moveset. It's only in Tekken Tag 2 they put them as separate characters and very
Also,
slightly changed them.
The difference is, Train, that Panda and Kuma make up a 25th of Tekken's cast.
I'm not
Mewtwo
saying-
and Shadow Mewtwo make up a sixth of it if there's only
I'm not
12.
disputing that. I mean, Street Fighter has a similar problem in that it has numerous characters with the term Ryu clone comes to mind, where so many characters are based off of the core Ryu gameplay with minor tweaks in one direction or another. I mean, the worst case is Ken, who's literally the same with minor stat adjustments to Shoryukens versus Hadokens. The most extreme difference is probably Goken in 4.
I get that. I'm saying it's exacerbated by there being such a small cast.
Yeah, I get that.
In minor defense of this, Mewtwo and Shadow Mewtwo do have very different movesets, to the extent where for about 3 or 4 months at the beginning of play, Shadow Mewtwo had a very, very easy infinite.
Once they take him to Nationals, just learn that one thing and that's all you can do. Pick anyone else, you're screwed.
Pretty much. I went and checked in on Pokken when we went up to the internationals in this country, and aside from there being about 10 people playing Pokken, honestly, Yuki, you really should have entered. You could
I
have
would
won
have
a
been in
couple
top
£100.
10, guys. I would have been top 10 for entering.
Yeah, you'd been top 10 seed.
Yeah.
That would have been amazing. But yeah, and I swear, 8 out of 10 of them were using Shadow Mewtwo just to get the infinite.
Yeah.
It was so dumb.
Wasn't Pokken at Evo? I'm trying to find out how many people played it.
I don't watch Evo, so you'd know better than I would.
I think it was meant to be, but I don't know if it ever ended up there.
No, it was, because I googled Pokken Evo 2016 and it's the winner, blah, blah, blah.
Using Shadow Mewtwo.
But yeah, probably.
They did patch his infinite eventually.
He was still the most OP character though.
Oh
There's
god,
a-
yeah.
There's a picture of Breaksy on the thumbnail, and I've heard that that's quite a thing about Pokken.
Oh yeah, I think
Oh,
the other
God,
two
yeah.
people that were playing at Nationals were using Breakson, because it's
Oh,
kind of OP.
Breakson, that's it.
But yeah, that's my number 10, by the way, and the game I didn't like. Expect some more negativity soon, because again,
Okay.
only played
I
10
know, I
games
like
this
there's some negativity on this list, frankly.
Yeah, I know. Hi, I'm Reese. I like all 10 of my games. That is the most controversial opinion I'm going to say. My number 10 is Salt and Sanctuary. It's the best Souls game that came out this year, I think. Even though it doesn't have Souls in the title. What Salt and Sanctuary is it's almost entirely made by one person looking at Dark Souls and saying, like, that's quite good, but I'd like it way more if it was a 2D platformer. I'm a big fan of platformers in general, and I'm quite a big fan of the first Dark Souls, at least. So Salt and Sanctuary was very fun to me, especially because its level system. A couple of people, or a fair few people, when they talk about like good leveling systems in games, they bring up the Sphere Grid from Final Fantasy X.
Wait, what?
Okay.
Yeah, because they like how interesting it looks, and sort of how freeing it is, especially for how early it was.
Oh, it's...
And I sort of see that, but like if you actually look at the Sphere Grid properly, there aren't anywhere near as many diverging paths and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's a case of anyone can be anything.
Yeah, but you also have to consider the period it came out in. Like, it was one of the first like uses of that kind of branching path RPG
Yeah.
system. And it's been refined since then.
It was innovative. I don't think it was as crazy as people think it was. Salt and Sanctuary brings back a Sphere Grid leveling system sort of thing, and it actually is like it does have as many branching paths as you think it does. It's not a trick or anything like that. I think that's really good, and I like how well Salt and Sanctuary manages to transfer the Dark Souls. You are a frail little insect with a giant weapon. Here is the world. Good luck. Into 2D, because when I heard of it, I didn't think it would go over well to 2D, but it really does. And also the main thing that clenched Salt and Sanctuary at my number 10 over some other things I nearly had at my number 10 is, wow, that game is really fun to watch speedrun. It's got the stupidest ladder glitch I've ever seen. If you've not watched anything of Salt and Sanctuary at all, I'd at least recommend the glitched any percent at AGDQ of this year. The time is like 8 minutes, and even that was twice as long as it was meant to be because like everything was going wrong. And that contributes to how I can enjoy a game as well. You know, how I can watch it. So yeah, that's my number 10, Salt and Sanctuary.
Cool. I don't think any of the rest
Sounds
of us have
good.
played that.
Well then,
What did you say, Sam?
So I might need to check that out. That sounds pretty good, and I hate 2D platformers.
And also, one of the starting classes is Chef, which is quite nice. You can get kills with the potato, the thrown potato.
Yes.
And I am a big fan of, this is a really bad option, but it's still here. So yeah, Salt and Sanctuary's got quite a few of those.
I like that. Okay. Right. Is it back to me now?
It is back to you now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin our number 9 slots. Mine is Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. Now, this was another begrudging addition to the list. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it, and I don't think it's a bad game. It is here because it improves excellently on the first one. Like, the first one was good, and I did like it, but it had problems. i.e. Saiyans were completely busted. They've done a lot in the sequel to sort of even the playing field a lot. How you want to play, who you want to play really matters. I've actually played as people not custom characters in this one, which I still haven't done in the original. Yeah, why would you? Like, everyone's got something shit on their moveset. Xenoverse 2 is going into eras of Dragon Ball Super, which I'm really enjoying at the moment. It's got a much better hub world area. There's no 10-second loading screens in between getting to where you need to go. Parallel quests are significantly less bullshit. RNGesus is still a thing, but it feels better. Like, you don't feel like you're getting screwed as much by having to do 10 attempts to get one thing as opposed to 2 or 3. You know?
Yeah. Would you mind if I say a thing?
No, by all means.
Because from Xenoverse 1, to put it on terms just for people who haven't played the game,
of course,
some of the things you need to unlock would be an RNG chance after beating an event which had an RNG chance to happen.
Yes.
So you're going through the luck twice, basically. Yeah.
It's like 10% of a 10%, which is horseshit.
I don't think there's any RNG in the actual missions themselves to get unlock requirements, though. Not for Xenoverse 2, I don't think. I never encountered
it feels like the ultimate finishes actually trigger like they should.
I think they do trigger on if you meet all the criteria, as opposed to the Xenoverse 1. Certainly, I remember the one that you can unlock Super Vegeta on. I'm
glad you mentioned that one.
I hated it so much. I went through that stage 50 times just to get the right amount of RNG on all of the different factors, just to get a skill that I would replace in a few couple hours anyway.
Yeah, but there's my ass who sat here and got it on the first try.
Yeah.
I have 120 hours in Xenoverse 1, and I think 107 of them were getting Super Vegeta, which I still don't even have. And I think the other 3 were doing everything in the game very quickly.
Yeah.
I'm going to save any of my conversation on Xenoverse 2 for reasons.
Yeah, I figured it earned its place here just by being, sort of the idealized version of the original. I prefer to think of it as Xenoverse 1.5 because that's what it feels like, but that's not a bad thing by any means. So yeah, that's my number 9 pick.
Okay, so more of a patch than a deserved sequel.
Yeah, but unlike Overwatch, I don't feel like my money was wasted.
Well, I guess it's time for me to be Mr. Negative.
Yay!
Sort of. All right, number 9, we're going to talk about Ratchet and Clank. The game based on the movie based on the game.
Oh, okay.
Now, to lead into this, I've been a fan of Ratchet and Clank for years. I was a kid when it first came out, PS2 era, glory days. I loved the game series, and I enjoyed them even when they entered the HD, universe. But there's nothing functionally wrong with this on a gameplay perspective. I'm actually holding up my copy here, as if I was talking to a camera.
Holding it to the mic.
Yeah. There's nothing functionally wrong with the game. It plays like a Ratchet and Clank. You can have all your crazy weapons, your platforming segments there. Controlling it is absolutely fine. It's just, it's a reboot. But it's a reboot but it's such a half-hearted reboot because it's made to tie in with the movie, which is all about retelling the events of the first game, except not really. But there's so many references and so many things that are just skipped over, Ratchet and Clank's actual friendship itself feels like it's such a superfluous part of the game. It's oh, yeah, they met and they're just friends. Versus in the first game where it's kind of an overarching plot about these two becoming friends and joining together. And this wouldn't be a problem if this wasn't a reboot, if this was trying to retell a story, which leads it back into this problem of who is this game for? It's got so much in it that's related and referencing the previous games that it can't really fully appeal to newcomers. But likewise, it's so much of it is just about trashing on things you remember that it's not really for older fans either. It's a game that, while functionally it works, it also functionally doesn't work. It works in the sense that it's a game. You can put it in, you can play it, you can enjoy it, but it doesn't work and it doesn't appeal to any core audience. And I feel really disappointed at it. That it is a good game. It has potential, but it's just so much of it is lost
Can I-
Is there another modern Ratchet and Clank coming out? Do you know?
Not as far as I'm aware.
Okay, because I remember playing Oblivion when it first came out, and I was like, this really doesn't seem like anything. And then when Skyrim came out, it was clear that Oblivion was like the stepping stone to that. And I was curious to see if another Ratchet and Clank was coming out. If you then played that and you looked back at this and was like, okay, yes, it was bad, but it was sort of a necessary halfway mark to get between this thing I once liked and this other thing, which is likable.
Honestly, it's the trade-off to the movie. They really wanted the movie to do well, and since they're basically using the same engine for the game as they are for the movie, why not pump out for cross promotion? And I have seen the movie, and it's all right. It's not the worst thing ever. It's certainly not like the worst thing ever, and therefore it's like possibly one of the best video game movies ever made. I mean, I still think the live-action Phoenix Wright is the best video game movie ever made, unquestionable.
Still need to see that.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
It's
I do.
scarily accurate. Like, I don't really want to divulge too much, but it's just, you watch it and like, wow, I can't believe they put that in. Why would you put that in? That's amazing. But anyway, it's the trade-off for the film. And I would rather just do without the film and get a great Ratchet and Clank game or have a great Ratchet and Clank movie and do without the game.
Yeah, you feel like it sold its soul, basically.
Can I ask a technical question here?
Can ask?
So why is this a game that you dislike above a game that you liked in your list?
Because Gravity Rush Remastered, for all of its positives, it's still a game that feels incomplete. Ratchet and Clank is a game that is complete. You know, you plug it in, you play it, and you get fulfilled in the sense of what you get what you expect out of it. You get your running, your gunning, your shooting, your crazy weapons, your platforming, all your little, all your jokes. It's a Ratchet and Clank experience through and through. Gravity Rush is a game that has nice ideas, great concepts, things you're like, I want to do more with this, but it doesn't really fulfill a lot of those promises.
Okay.
It's a wide open sandbox, but not a whole lot to do with it.
Fair enough.
I think the issue is it's easier to sell us on Gravity Rush because that seems new, whereas Ratchet and Clank is like, it's that old thing, and if you didn't like it, this is worse than it. So I think that might be where Sam and I are interpreting it a little weird.
Yeah, but it's our own list. That's all part.
Exactly. I'm not trying to say take it down.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right, I guess it's,
So Yuki's go.
on to my number 9 then. Still a negative land of games I didn't particularly like.
Yay.
Twilight Princess HD.
Oh boy.
Oh, Alan left a bad taste in my mouth just saying it. So, Twilight Princess is a game I have never finished in my entire life because there is one level in it that, for whatever reason, I cannot beat. No matter how many new save files I get up to that point, I've just never beaten it. I'm guessing it's like near the end. I don't really know. But when the HD version was announced, I thought, you don't have to use the motion controls for this. That should be good, because I hate motion controls. They're stupid. That's why I've never played Skyward Sword. I own it, and I got to like the first bit and then gave up and never bothered again. So I sat down to play it when I got it, and I thought, this is nice. I've got a nice little amiibo with it and everything. It looks really nice. And then the first time you get... Well, the beginning of the game is still just as shit as it ever was. And it's one of those infamous tutorials that takes 7 hours.
Oh boy.
Why are you herding goats? Like, they cut the goat herding down, and I thought, did they? It doesn't feel like it, but apparently they cut it down. So I'll go with that.
They did.
You get to the first section where you're a wolf, and I thought, yeah, man, this is the bit I was looking forward to. I remember absolutely loving the bits where you play as Wolf Link. 5 minutes later, you're done. Huh. So this is what they cut down, is it? The wolf, apparently, the parts of the game that everyone else didn't enjoy was playing as the wolf. So we got more of the really repetitive dungeons, boring dialogue with characters I couldn't give two shits about, and also Midna, who I do care about, but oh wait, they cut her bits down because that's when you're playing as a wolf. Go figure. I don't really understand this game and why they decided to get rid of the fun parts, in my opinion, and replace it with just the same shitty bits. And I think that's the worst bit, that you're paying the same amount for a game that you would have paid for back then, but you're getting less game. They didn't add anything extra, they only took bits out. I don't understand the logic to that, but I guess that's just me.
Yeah, in terms of the Wolf Link stuff that got taken out, that was mostly finding the light bugs in order to get it out of Twilight. So it says something that what they removed was the dossing about, and that has impacted it that much.
Yeah, I mean, the exploring of the wolf is what I found fun because it was different. You know, it was unique and different to the Zelda gameplay. You know, it's normally just hold a shield up, hit something with a sword. You know, I don't know. I guess I just enjoyed that more because it was different.
Yeah,
it kind of reminds me of I don't know if you ever played any of the Prince of Persia games on the PlayStation 2 again, but the third game introduced the idea of the prince transforms into a darker counterpart, which changes up the gameplay as well. I remember thinking those segments were rather short for what was a huge gameplay change.
Yeah, I imagine that would be a really fun. I've never played them, but it sounds like it would be the fun part because it's different from the first two. You know.
It's always weird whenever games do these like massive gameplay changes as a mechanic, you know, because like you want to have like a sense of progression for the player. You want to give them the chance to practice to get good with that particular gameplay style. But since it's not the main gameplay style, like I know it's always interesting trying to find a balance between having these segments and not having them.
Yeah.
I think it's because if they put it in too much, then they'll say, "Oh, this isn't Zelda, this isn't Prince of Persia anymore," and so they're always wary of putting it in too much. That's my take.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they're doing, but I feel like the balance before wasn't too bad, and I guess other people were saying it isn't Zelda and all that shit. I mean, people say that about Zelda 2, and yet that's still a great game, isn't it?
Isn't the whole point of Zelda is that they change it up, is that, you know, every game has like so many different things to it that you can't really say what this is Zelda. It's like Metroid, right? Like everyone talks of the Metroidvania style, but Metroid itself isn't like has changed up its own dynamic multiple times, even before other Metroid Prime, for instance, is such a huge departure, and everyone loves Metroid Prime.
Yeah, I think there are literally only 2 Metroidvania games in the Metroid franchise.
There's like Metroid and then Metroid Fusion, right?
I don't even know if Metroid 1 is
about Super Metroid?
I was going to say it's Super Metroid and Metroid 2, which I believe is Metroid Fusion. I'm not sure. I could be wrong.
No, Metroid Fusion is its own separate game.
Oh, is it? Okay. I think, there might be 3 then, if Metroid... I don't know what Metroid Fusion is, to be honest.
Yeah, because it goes like in between, I think, Super Metroid and Metroid 2.
Okay.
Like in the fucking Metroid timeline, which still amazes me that's a thing.
I mean, every Nintendo franchise has to have a timeline. I'm waiting for that Super Mario timeline, boys. It's going to be great.
Yeah, right?
Mario Kart 8 happens just before Mario and the Lost Coins, you know?
Oh, God.
I want to know when he's finding time for the Olympics.
I mean, he's got plenty of time. Mario's like, he lives in an infinite time loop.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something that Fire Emblem, of all things, is one of the few Nintendo franchises that doesn't have a confusing bullshit timeline.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like, hey, it's been a couple hundred years.
Is to just not have a timeline, just treat games as their own separate entries, like Final Fantasy does it.
Yeah,
Sure.
No, I never. I mean, apart from like the one throwaway line in 10-2 that makes everyone go, "Oh, it's a prequel to 7." No one else is like trying to find the connections that bring Final Fantasy 3 to Final Fantasy 5.
It's because there isn't any.
Exactly.
Isn't there a character called Sid in like loads of them?
Yeah, but
Sid is like the constant.
It's just a kind of, it's a constant. It's like Moogles and Chocobos and Biggs and Wedge. They're not like a recurring entity. They're not like recurring entities. They're just recurring elements that people, or Lionheart, you know, various weapon names are always the same. Some bosses are always the same name, but, you know, radically different designs.
Spell names are usually follow the similar naming convention. And Sid is for some reason one of those things, but yeah.
There's an infinite number of dimensions
And all of
timelines, and Sid's in all of them.
Yeah.
The best one is when you get to Dissidia Final Fantasy, which then tries to justify that Sid is also like a guy called Sid is like potentially the progenitor of the whole Final Fantasy series in of itself.
I mean, his name is literally in Dissidia, so you have to let him have that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess it's your number 9 then, Reese.
Yes, my number 9 is a lovely little indie gem called Overwatch. Like Sam, I'm only going to mention like my specific things with Overwatch. There was a time in the year where this was my number 2, and then lots of patches, which I'm not going to say I disagree with, but I dislike, happened. Namely, Ultimate Charge became way, way slower. And Anna, who I played so much of, it was ridiculous, got way, way worse. And again, I'm pretty sure I agree with both of those changes. Sometimes I debate about the Ultimate Charge one and like, did everyone really need it, and did it need to be as severe as it was? But I agree with the spirit of I completely agree with nerfing the character who I spent over 100 hours on to hell. She deserved it. And she can stay in hell, aka like 3rd best in the tier list still. Yeah, that's that. She got nerfed that hard, and she's still like 3rd. It's ridiculous. But yeah, there was definitely a time when Overwatch would have been my number 2. I still like Overwatch, and I think it speaks to something where like my favorite thing about Overwatch, I think, is when you ask someone, "Oh, who do you play?" It's normally like 4 or 5 different people, if not more. Like some people say they have mains, and but I can also do blah and blah and blah and blah, and it's because everyone's quite fun and everyone's got quite a good kit as well. And the balancing is done pretty well, I feel like. I remember when I first got the game, McCree was basically a god among men.
Oh, yeah.
And for like half a week or so, it was like he was carrying a water gun. He was so ineffective. And then he just became solid because Blizzard are very active in changing the heroes to be where they need to be. And that gives me hope, not just for the game, but also for all games.
That's fair.
So yeah, that's what I wanted to say about Overwatch before one of the other 2 mentions it in their lists.
Oh
I
well,
don't know what you're talking about.
we got a while to go yet before that.
Yeah, I feel like there might be a gap before we hear about Overwatch again.
I'm kind of glad that someone else joined me on putting it so low on their list.
Yeah.
We'll see about that.
All right.
I nearly had Overwatch at 10, but I thought a big part of why I like Salt and Sanctuary is watching speedruns of it, particularly the ladder glitch, which still amuses me. And so I thought playing was more legitimate than watching, and so I thought I'll give Overwatch number 9. But the number 8 and above, it's clearly so legitimate that Overwatch couldn't overcome it. I can't wait to tell you. But first, Sam, what's your number 8?
Okay, on to the number 8 slot.
Do you like your games yet?
No, this is like right. Okay, I like all my games. It's just those 2 I didn't want to include them because of the particular grievances I have. Number 8 earns its place as a game I fully like with flaws. Batman: The Telltale series. I am a huge Telltale fan after The Walking Dead. Both seasons of it that I've played. Haven't got to season 3 yet, but we'll see about that. I don't necessarily like their sales model. I think buying it episodically, I think it hurts the industry in a few ways, but at the same time, it generates hype for the story in a way that I have never been able to replicate because it prevents me from spoiling anything. And I know that's a really, really stupid reason, but
no, that's good. I think in today's age, it's a legit reason.
Yeah, exactly. I know I can prepare myself. I can play it on release, and I can dodge every spoiler, and I can, I can avoid it without having to give in to willpower. In terms of Batman itself, it does what every other Batman adaptation is so afraid to do, and that is mess with the status quo. You can look at any kind of given Batman media, and you'll know roughly what things are going to do. Not because you know the characters, and that's how the characters should be, but because no one really takes the risk with a beloved franchise. I will give no spoilers because it is a game I think everyone should play. But Batman doesn't do that. Like, everyone is clearly themselves. They are written as characters. They are written as they should be. But they're not afraid to play fast and loose with canon, put it that way. And that makes it a lot more, a lot more entertaining, a lot more thrilling, a lot more fulfilling as a story.
Can I bring up a specific Batman grievance that I've got?
Before we get into this, can I just preface this with I have very specific and numerous issues with with Telltale games, so I'm going to bow out of talking about this because it would just become really inappropriate to the content of this video.
Fair enough.
I would just be talking about a company and its business model and its development as opposed to the game of itself.
Trust me, Train, I know what points you're going to make, and there is a degree to which I agree with you, but that is for another time.
There's a reason I specified the Telltale game.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like, and let me say this, I'm not a Batman fan in general. I kind of, from a glance, he seems like the worst superhero. But I feel like the whole Batman doesn't kill thing has really been getting increasingly shelved lately. I remember it wasn't that long ago that Batman was kind of driving a tank. If you're trying to have me believe that Batman's not killing people in a tank.
Yeah, no, it shoots rubberized bullets.
It's rubberized bullets, and it creates an electrified field that stuns people when he plows into them.
Yeah, that can't kill anyone. What are you talking about?
When it's got the rubberized bullets that fire out at 1,000 miles an hour velocity, that can also punch through walls, I might add, the same armaments that are used to break down walls are used to knock thugs unconscious on the streets of Gotham. No, he doesn't kill anyone. What are you talking about?
Yeah, there is this.
It can shoot a pack of Wrigley's chewing gum, but if it shoots it hard enough, it's gonna seriously hurt people. And the tank can't exactly be lightweight. It's a tank. So that must have run people over. What I wanted to say, Sam, is do you think Batman is dropping this cavalier attitude to life? Or is he going even more in on it?
No, it's not a case of he's dropping the attitude of, I don't kill, that's not my thing. It's a case of better writers are handling it.
Right.
They're not giving him a fucking tank.
The problem is it comes into the rule of cool, right? Everyone wants to see Batman with these crazy gadgets doing this, and this, and they want to see him fly around and beat people up. And the reality is that even from even the early days from especially Tim Burton stuff because he did actually kill, but Nolan stuff. Just half of the things he does would almost certainly kill a man. So, but you accept it because suspension of disbelief, etc., etc. Yeah. Problem is when you get into Arkham Knight, it just gets borderlines on the ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, just ram the dude with the tank. Yeah. Oh no, he's fine. He's getting up. You see, he's still breathing. The detective vision thing tells me he's still breathing. Pretty sure Alfred reprogrammed that just to say that.
Yeah, it's just so everyone's always breathing.
Yeah. Well, that's something I like about this game in particular because it doesn't focus on an angst over the "thou shalt not kill" type thing, and it actually gives you honest-to-God detective work to do. There is a mystery.
Is there actually? Because I feel like that is overlooked in Batman stuff in general. At least
there's no detective. The cowl is technologically advanced, I won't deny, but there's no detective vision. Hey, here's what the bullet hole looks like from this brick that you've put back together.
Want to solve a mystery? Have a look.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, look to solve mystery. That's what it should really be.
Yeah, I mean, it is good, solid Batman shit. Put it that way.
Mysteries are hard to do in video games, though, because mystery always kind of impacts the replayability and the reviewability of something. Because once you know the twist of the mystery, it's kind of no real point. There's no more mystery anymore. Exactly. It's like why LA Noire was such a big failure to me.
Train, can I stop you on this point about mystery and say you should hold this until later on my list?
Okay.
Love it.
I want to be some mystery.
Yeah, to round off my bit, that's why it's my number 8. It's good, solid Batman action that dispenses with tired storylines at the moment.
I guess it's me then, again.
It is you.
It's almost like we got a sister.
It's almost like you're the fourth. Every fourth go is going to be from you.
Almost, yeah. Well, number 8, we've already heard this, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2.
Hey.
Now, you might wonder why this is number 8. And while I did enjoy it, don't get me wrong, it's fun, and the combat and the gameplay is definitely an improvement over the first game. And I'm not going to dwell on that because Sam already covered it. The reason why it's so low is just because it's a game that it feels unnecessary. Like, apart from the gameplay tweaks, you're playing through this, like, there's not a whole bunch added to it outside of the DLC stuff. It's mostly just, did you like the first game? Well, you'll probably like this one.
Yeah.
There's superfluous stuff that I wouldn't have thought, I would like to see it in the game, but I wouldn't want a whole game based around just that. And the game itself doesn't even really pretend that it's not just the first one, but with a new hat. Because the whole thing is you're just playing through the same stuff you played through the first time round.
But it's got a new hat.
Oh look, Ginyu has accidentally swapped bodies with someone who's not Goku. Oh my god.
Yeah, it doesn't really push the boundaries, does it?
It doesn't change. It's no development. It's just the same as the first game, and that has an appeal to it. Like I said, it's a good game. It's a refinement of the first game, but is that really what I want out of a sequel? No. A sequel take risks and fail, then just remain stagnated, and
I feel like what they need to do, or what they should do, or at the very least what I'd like them to fucking do, is to just do like proper what if scenarios and actually run with it. Don't do and everything's cleaned up at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I want a full arc of like Ginyu just keeps changing bodies and he's gradually moving up the power rankings. Or like, what if just the meta cooler thing got out of control and they just sort of had to abandon ship and regroup, and the Big Getty Star was an actual real threat? Like, because they've done it before on lesser games like Super Sonic Warriors.
They're great what ifs.
Yeah,
they should do Ginyu swaps with Frieza.
You're thinking like Small Fry. I want him to swap with Cell, and then I want Cell to absorb Majin Buu. I want to keep going up the ranking, and then
I want him to swap with Beerus. Beerus, that's unlimited potential.
Maybe you should play Dragon Ball Fusions if you have a 3DS.
It's not actually out here yet, but yeah.
Yeah, I know, but it's coming out soon. Game assures me it's coming out soon. It's on their. They got the case. It's on their little shelf. Coming soon.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, maybe we'll be able to talk about this next year.
Yeah.
We hope so.
Yeah, that's my 2 cents on Xenoverse 2. So next up,
Yuki.
Right, I'm out of negative zone, so
Yay!
3 cheers all round. I'm into neutral zone. So, time to talk about a little game that I think Sam and Train have both probably forgotten came out this year. Lost Reavers.
Oh, I remembered.
Yeah, it nearly made the list.
Oh, wow.
This is a top 10, though, Yuki.
Yeah, fair
Top
point.
10.
It's as they so rightly said, it's not great. It's not a good game by any stretch of the imagination.
I was going to say, I'd stretch to call it a game.
But at the same time, it's not in the worst 2 experiences I've had this year. So
No.
No, what you can say about Lost Reavers, it's
that?
worth what you pay for.
Yeah, no, he's completely right. The game is free. You never have to put any money into it. There probably is some way of paying money into it, but fuck it, whatever.
Yeah, there's microtransactions.
I mean, there always is. But not playing it like that. Do you know what? 4 of us hanging out, just playing a game for a bit of fun. It was alright. And do you know how you win?
How do you win?
We all get
Get to
disabled.
the end of the game. Oh, or that.
Oh my god.
Sorry,
Mommy,
that's literally all I have to say. But I don't have any like positive or negative things. It really wasn't. It's just a generic shooting game. Shoot some zombies.
Yeah,
It's alright. 4-player. It's kind of fun, I guess. Yeah.
The best I think I could compare it to is like a twin stick shooter.
Yeah, it was a twin stick shooter, I think.
It was that's why I can compare it to that.
Wow.
It's so great that we can't even remember how it was played. We literally played it like twice and then never touched it again. Actually, we stopped playing the Wii U after that, but
Well, yeah, because that was just after Splatoon stopped updating.
yeah, if that had come out this year, that would have been on my list, but it didn't.
Yeah.
Maybe next year you could talk about Splatoon.
Oh,
seriously,
maybe.
Why isn't it fucking called that?
Yeah, what a missed opportunity, Nintendo.
I feel like that was more intentional because then when they come to 3, what the fuck do they call it?
Splatoon!
Splatoon 3. Do you have any idea the
I
amount of
would
games?
argue Splatoon is better than Splatoon.
Yeah.
You know, this is probably the reason that Banjo 3 never existed, guys. Come on.
Yeah, but they at least did Banjo Tooie, and we all know it's a stupid name, but it's a great stupid name.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Rare are great with puns. Nintendo, not so much.
So a memorable name. It's like, so for example, the new Resident Evil 7, right?
That's
the
got
whole
a great name,
gimmick.
I've got to say.
Yeah, the whole gimmick is it's the 7 is in the evil.
Yeah,
Also,
Resident
they've
Evil 7.
got its Japanese name and vice versa because it's Resident Evil Biohazard and then Biohazard Resident Evil. I fucking love that. That's cool.
But the thing is, that whole Roman numeral in the title thing would have worked a hell of a lot better if it was Resi 6. But we don't talk about Resident Evil 6. We only talk about bits of Resi 5. We talk about Resi 4 though. In fact, if I'd have been a cheat and allowed games that had been that I'd played before but got re-released this year, Resident Evil 4 would probably be on this list somewhere.
Really, I'm not.
It probably got a re-release this year. Let's be
No,
real.
it did.
It did. It got a PS4
Fucking
re-release.
hell.
Have it on your list because I've definitely got re-releases on mine, and I've excluded like Dark Souls 3 and Pokemon Moon for re-releases, so you should be allowed them.
I'm not doing it because it's also not very fun. Just say, oh yeah, this game that came out, over a decade ago, it's back again. What's different? Nothing.
It's still great.
It's that game you played. Did you like it? Well, buy it again. And again.
Oh, you've played it before. Oh, that does change things.
Yeah,
my re-release I had not played before this year.
I shouldn't specify. I'm keeping it as to games I have played before but got re-releases this year because
Okay.
To be fair,
It's
I
just
did
cheap.
have a re-release on my list, and I had played it before, but it was different, so that's why it was on there.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I already did
Sure.
it. It was number 9.
Yeah.
Right, Reese, number 8, go.
Yuki's in the neutral zone. I'm in fucking crazy bizarro zone for my number 8. I'm dead excited.
Oh boy.
Some people would say that 2016 was maybe not the best year for politics. Those people would include everyone. One of the things that helped me get through this was a website called goparcade.com. goparcade.com is a completely free website with a bunch of games that mock the American Republican Party and some of the ways they do things. My personal favorite is definitely Bomb the Right Place, where you're told a vaguely unsatisfactory thing from a country. You get two options. Let's look at the democratic policies or bomb them. Looking at the democratic policies is always a game over. If you pick bomb them, you're taken to a map which doesn't have labels on, and then you just have to try and bomb the right place. And it leads to little text boxes such as direct-ish hit. You are only 437 miles. I'm sure they got the message. But other brilliant games on goparcade.com include Science Fighter, where you've got to try and push the agenda for creationism and fight people like Bill Nye. That's a very, very good game. And I also really enjoy the Thoughts and Prayers game, where there's lots of mass shootings going on all over America, and you've got to mash T to send thoughts and P to send prayers to stop as many as you can. And the joke is you never stop any of them. Like, it changes nothing. And at the end, it's like, you did 188 thoughts and prayers and you stopped 0 mass shootings.
I just in this brief moment, I'd like to make the point that the Yukiverse does not share any of these opinions. Does not necessarily share any of the opinions of the people herein. And in the interest of balance, we do not have any political leanings one way or the other in America.
To be fair,
Because
none
we
of us
don't
are actually
live there.
Americans, so that's a
No.
fair comment.
I'm
No,
just
Collecting footage for this bit is going to be great.
I'm just trying to be nice. It's not my place to comment on any people who may or may not have elected a moron who's. Well, you know what? I'm just gonna stop
Yeah.
right there.
No, what is this fucking website?
It's goparcade.com. There's also make Trump submit his tax returns, which is, I believe that's unwinnable. I can't remember. But there's actually like a crazy amount of games, and all of them are like, they're jokes, but they're good jokes. And it legitimately helped me get through the travesty that was 2016 politics. Because you have to bear in mind, people who are listening, there are politics that happen outside of America, and they weren't especially great in the UK either.
Nope.
So, sometimes I needed cheering up, and I value comedy a hell of a lot in my games. So,
Say 2016 wasn't a good year for politics. In glorious Mother Russia, they had a great year. Vladimir Putin remained unopposed, and anyone who did oppose him was they just disappeared strangely.
you're right. When I said it was a bad year for everyone, there is one exception I can think of. Exactly one.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't expect that to even exist, let alone be on a list.
Sad.
Well, it's
Number
that
7.
good. It's that good. And you know what? If you're still in your neutral zone, Yuki, maybe just hop over to goparcade.com right now, while Sam and Train are doing their list.
What a great idea. No, I'm into positive zone on number 7. Don't worry, I like all my games past that.
Okay. I'm still in a little bit bizarro zone for my next 2 games, by the way.
Okay.
But Sam, you should go now, unless someone wants to comment on GOP Arcade.
I think all that has been said can be said. Or can be said has been said.
The final comment. Famous comedian known as Tom Lehrer said that political satire died when Henry Kissinger got the Nobel Peace Prize. Sometimes I feel like that after 2016.
Okay, it's number 7.
Now we're just living it.
Yeah, right. On to the number 7 slot for everyone. For me, it is Final Fantasy 15. You knew this was going to be on our list somewhere. I really enjoyed it. I think there's a great story to it. Playing it is a hell of a lot of fun. The exploration is great. The scale of the game is absolutely massive. And plus, it's a really great character piece. I like every single one of the party members I really enjoyed. Most of the named NPCs I got along with, and I sort of got the string of their character. A couple of the villains, but whatever. The reason I've put it lower is because it is unquestionably an unfinished game. And that is going to be coming in DLC and patches and stuff like that.
Well, I'll reserve for when we talk about it later in my list. I'm actually curious if there's some
Which
other...
you interrupted me to say. There's unquestionably bits missing, but it still feels like a really, really good game, even with those bits without. That didn't make a lot of grammatical sense coming out, but point is, I really like it. I think it's a good direction for Final Fantasy to be going, and once it's a complete game, it'll probably be higher on the list.
Be curious if there's another JRPG that's on your list that's also on my list.
yeah, there is. And it is the same one. What were you saying there, Reese?
I feel like there might be a bit more of a back and forth when Train brings it up, because then you'll both be able to give it both barrels. So I want to ask now,
Shoot.
Sam, does it feel weird that, from what I know, Final Fantasy occasional crossings over with actual real life, like songs from it?
Oh, is this about the product placement?
I don't know. I've just heard that there are real life songs in it.
The Stand By Me is played. I can't remember who sings it.
Florence and the Machine. They kind of are like when you're driving around in your car. You do have a radio, and the songs that are in there are part of either the soundtrack for the game, the soundtrack for other Final Fantasy games, or for the prequel movie. I've not come across any real life songs apart from the one that was used to advertise it and plays during the credits, which is Stand By Me.
It might only be the one. It's just what I'd heard. Especially because you specifically mentioned you can't really place the Final Fantasies anywhere. Because, like, now you can place this one, like, in our timeline somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, Square has always one of Square's biggest Square's biggest strengths has always been its ability at cross promotion.
Yes.
Like, if nothing else, they're consistent. Like, even across other games. Well, actually, I'll talk about that particular part later on. But like, Final Fantasy 15 had a significant amount of cross promotion. So many different products. You had the prequel movie. You had the soundtracks. You had interviews. You had teaming up with with car companies to develop like vehicles for the game.
Yeah, the prequel anime.
There's so much of it where there was so much extra stuff to build up the hype for Final Fantasy 15, and marketing wise, it was absolutely genius, spectacular.
Yeah. No,
I'm gonna write down a question about this for when you mention it on your list, Train.
Okay.
But carry on.
Well, I don't really think I have any more to say. Like, it's a good solid game. It'll be nice when the obvious missing bits are filled in. But for now, it's a good game.
Hey, it's my turn then.
Yeah.
Oh, let's discuss a game that's never been mentioned on this list before, Overwatch.
It's moving up.
At number 7. Now, I enjoy the game. I play it a lot more than Sam does, if I'm honest.
Yes.
And I play it with Yuki, and we have a lot of fun playing it. But the reason it's so low is that it's a game I could never play if I didn't have other people to play it with. Be a glorified coaster if I had to play it on my own, because it's just so boring on its own. There's, like Sam said, there's not a whole lot of content. I really feel like Blizzard needs to start introducing more game modes as like a standard feature. It certainly needs to work on balancing some of its other game modes. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
And
wait, what's that hint to?
Capture the Rooster. It's pretty unbalanced and stupid.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard things.
Which, considering Capture the Flag is a standard for most shooters, it's a bit not good. And I do enjoy Overwatch. The cast, the characters, they all have such wide variety to them that it, like I said before, it's kind of hard just to pick what. It's not like other shooters where you go, okay, it's like TF2. It's not like, you just play, okay, I'm going to play Spy and I'm going to play it really, really well. You can't just play Soldier 76. You kind of, and because of competitive and new quick play rules, you have to branch out and learn other characters. Not to mention Random Heroes is great for that. And while there is fun to be had, there's not a whole lot of content for the price you pay. Not to mention, I'm still not a fan of the MOBA microtransaction aspects of the game. Paying money. It's like Hearthstone, but the difference is Hearthstone is free from the get-go. You're basically paying for the chance to unlock superfluous stuff for the game itself.
I was about to say, it's not like the stuff you pay for affects anything, right? It's just looks.
Yeah, but it's still just that kind of weird. It's there. It's tantalizing enough to be annoying, but unnecessary enough to be questionable as to why there's such a disparity between it. Especially when you get to the event stuff, and you're like, oh, I have to grind up to get to the 3,000 gold to get the skin I want. But there's not much more to say that's not been covered on it, and I'm sure someone else will want to discuss it even more later on in a far more positive light.
That's when it all comes out.
Never.
When we get to that point, I'm sure we'll all be there to tell him why he's wrong.
Well, it'll be a while. So
right.
Oh yeah.
Yuki, please tell me your number 7 is GOParcade.com.
Yeah, I've just changed my list. I just went on that. My number 7 is a game that is literally this low because it isn't finished. It's not like a case of they've released it as a finished. It's literally in pre-release. So it's called Feel the Snow, which, ironically, if I keep this backdrop that I'm recording of it, it's just a picture of a snowy wonderland, which I actually use as the background for that very stream. When I stream this game, it even says scenes, feel the snow. So there we go. Throw out, I guess. I don't even know. If this isn't there, that's going to make no sense, but fuck it, whatever. Feel the Snow is kind of like, I guess the best way to describe it would be a top-down Terraria, I guess, kind of. So it's kind of like got the survival aspects. You build certain things, but you don't build everything. You don't like build the whole world like you do in Minecraft or whatever. But you build like houses, well, your house, and you know farm for resources, fight slimes. You know, it's kind of like a mix between RPG and Minecraft. It's got a good enough mix that I feel like it was fun, and I feel like I haven't played it enough to get the full grasp of the game. And obviously, it's not finished, so. But it was like a $5, so it wasn't too much money considering it's a not finished game. It was fun. I enjoyed myself on stream and I did it. It's really chill. I know that's a pun in the fact that it's snow, but it's like one of those like you know how when you play Minecraft, you're playing it on your own. It's really serene because the music's just all like mellow and stuff, and you can just totally relax and forget everything out. It's kind of one of those games, and I really like that because. Again, this year hasn't been the great. Well, last year, not this year. This year's fine. Last year wasn't the greatest year for people, so it was quite nice to have something chill and mellow just to zone yourself out with. You know, I quite liked it for that.
Fantastic year for ants.
I've quickly looked it up on Steam, and like the graphics seem to be quite adorable. I approve of how the character looks for sure.
You know me, I like stuff that's cute, so. I just looked at my list and I'm disappointed at how cute the rest of the games are. But whatever, that's fine. We can have this one.
One is fine.
That's my number 7.
Okay, so one question I want to ask is, from what I understand of other people who like those sort of games, Stardew Valley has been the shit this year, or last year. It's been like the best thing. Have you got any interest in that? Is it on your list? And if not, why? Because I feel like everyone's been on that, you know?
Everyone has been on Stardew Valley. It's like one of those games that's been overhyped to hell. No, I haven't played it. No, I don't intend on playing it. Because I feel, I don't know, some parts of it, I think, you know what, I might be interested in this. The other parts of it's like, it's just Animal Crossing or like one of those games like Harvest Moon or something. I feel like when you played one, you've played them all, even if that's not true. Like, I enjoyed the 3DS Animal Crossing. I really like that game. But now that I've played it, I probably won't get like the next one. You know?
That's fine. I wasn't bullying you.
No. I'm trying to explain my point on the idea of all of those games. While they are different, like the farming simulators and stuff, they all kind of feel the same. So I played one and I enjoy one, and I'm happy with just the one. So.
And it seemed less like games, more like distractions for me. A lot of stuff that you have a progression, sense of accomplishment, and a end point, so to speak. It's just kind of, there's something else I want to do. I might as well do this in the background.
Yeah, no, I could agree with that. That's a fair commentary on it. Right, Reese.
Cool.
I didn't know you were done. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I was already done. I was just answering your questions. So.
No, that's fine. This is a great seg from games you can play while you're doing other things. Because my number 7 is a game that is on my list primarily because of how good it was for about 2 weeks. And it's been kind of lackluster since then, but those 2 weeks were so good that it's
You've already said Overwatch.
No, that was better than longer than 2 weeks.
Yeah,
just not as good. I've got Pokemon Go as my number 7. When that first came out, it was unlike anything I have ever known. Because the first time I got it, before it was actually officially released in the UK, because I'm a criminal. But when you first went out and you saw people on their phones, you're like, it would be fun if they were playing Pokemon Go. Then you started to look at their phones. All of them fucking were. Literally everyone. It didn't matter what age you were. Everyone was out there trying to catch everything they possibly could. It was actually incredible. I've never felt so united with just gamers as a dorky community as I have during those 2 weeks. And actually meeting people and talking to people like, hey, I know there's a lake nearby where you can get Dragonairs, and everyone fucking wants Dragonairs, so go over there. It was actually incredible. It's just unlike any other gaming experience I'd ever had, even though the gameplay itself is like shockingly, atrociously boring.
Yeah, half of the gameplay is walking.
Yeah, and like that didn't matter to me because this was so good. And just like people openly dressed as Pokemon out in the streets. So I got a picture with a Pikachu lady, and like
That might be a step too far.
No, I think it was a crazy celebration of how much they like what is probably one of the most famous game series of all time.
You say crazy celebration, I say furry.
Well, there was no fur on the costume I'm talking about in particular. It was just like yellow face paint and shit like that.
What it was when you said that, there's no fur on it, just sounded really lewd and suspicious. Oh,
that's just you, Trey.
Can you just stop trying to corrupt what was a beautiful time for me, okay?
No.
It was, well,
I have not shit on any of your games, and you've had Xenoverse 2 on your list.
I never even played Pokemon Go. I'm just laughing at, I never knew about people dressed as Pokemon. That's a new one.
You've obviously never been to a convention.
You're right, I haven't.
No, I've not ever been to a convention. That's the thing. It was just on the streets, and it's the first time that I saw lots of gamers actually out and socializing. It was like Pokemon from the very beginning. The whole trading aspect has been trying to bring people together, and I feel like Pokemon has never really done that until Pokemon Go. And like, I feel like that's an incredible thing, and if I didn't talk about it on this list, I'd have fucking kicked myself.
That's fair.
So yeah, it can get worked on, and like before people get in the comments, if any of you have heard of Ingress, that is basically the same concept but better gameplay, and like people get upset because like, but Ingress is a better game. Yeah, but like it's easier to love Eevee than it is to love a level 3 projectile barrier. I'm sorry, it just is.
Unless you're, say, a fantasy dwarf.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Pokemon Go, specifically 2 weeks in July.
Those were a fantastic 2 weeks. I can't even deny.
They were crazy good, and just running into people on the street and just like advising people on where to go, and like, oh man, did you know there's like a Rhyhorn swarm if you go down there? And it's like, no, I didn't know. Thank you very much. That's incredible. I can't wait to not catch Rhyhorn. Because that's how it always worked out for me. But like, I literally can't think of any other game that has had anything even close to that effect on such a massive scale. And so, like, I love Pokemon Go. I don't want it to ever stop existing. Sincerely, a fat man.
No, I agree with you. I think it's a good game. I think it should stick around. It's just a shame that all the hype's kind of died.
I feel like there was a patch that made everything way harder to catch, and that so castrated the momentum of the game.
Yeah, I heard about that. But I must admit I didn't experience it. But you and Yuki will know better than I will.
Yeah, it was there for a little bit. They kind of reverted it, but I'll leave my 2 cents on the game because I've only played 10 games this year. So guess what?
Hey, I wonder. Right. At least I'm moving on to the number 6 spot. Where's my list? Okay. Here's one that I don't think any of the rest of you have played. XCOM 2.
You're right.
Yep. Now, XCOM Enemy Within / Enemy Unknown. Really, really good like examples of reboots of classic games that I haven't had the chance to play. And XCOM 2 builds on that in every possible way. It's tactical strategy versus the aliens. It's being able to customize your individual squad mates, building up your base, which I admit is slightly worse in this one than it was in Enemy Within, but whatever. They actually focused a lot more on the story in this one. It ties together a greater narrative rather than aliens invade, go kill. the sense of progression when you're finally upgrading all of your things. This sounds so trite, but everyone remembers an XCOM when they first got their laser rifles, because suddenly, like, it felt like the difficulty spike that had been going up and up and up suddenly evens out, and you feel like, yes, we can win. It is such an emotional experience playing these games. Like, if you're like me, who's an idiot, who names all their squad mates and customizes them to look like their friends, and then suddenly one of you dingbats botches a 90% shot and dies, it's heartbreaking because my friend just died. And it's incredibly replayable. I've got about 100 hours logged on it. I've got close to 300 logged on Enemy Within, which would be even higher on this list if it came out this year, but it didn't. It is just a really good game, and it's hard. It's an actual hard, enjoyable, solid game. Like, even on easy, like I only play this on normal at most. I cannot handle hard. I cannot handle nightmare. but like, it's a satisfying level of difficulty. So yeah, it got me into strategy games a lot bigger, which will lead into some more things further up the list. At least for me.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yes.
I remember watching you playing that on stream, and it looked really good. And I think it's actually, if I ever do properly play it, which I suspect I will, that could be one of my top regrets of the year, is not having played it enough to have talked about it now, because that actually looks crazy fun. It
is a game you can just sit down, like, grab a plate of food and just sort of get really engrossed in it.
It seemed like it could have been dangerously time sinky, and like, I don't like the sci-fi thing pretty much ever. So like, the fact that I was so interested in XCOM, I think, speaks to how much it was doing that seemed right. Yeah.
Like, Enemy Within, I had multiple sessions where I looked up from playing it and thought, oh shit, it's dawn. And, you don't even notice because you're so engrossed in the experience. You're so invested in trying to beat the aliens and trying to win and do humanity proud and really stick it to the council, because Mexico just cut their funding from the only thing that's defending them from the fucking aliens. What complete idiots. Sorry. This is what happens. You develop really specific stupid hates for countries that dick you over when it comes to funding. It's like everyone jokes about how in Civ 5 you just get nuked by Gandhi. It feels like these people are impossible to please. Like, yes, a few people got abducted, but look at all these people who aren't, because I'm here. Yeah. Also, it's got the epic trailer voice guy in it as well, your contact with the council, it's quite nice. So yeah, that's my number 6.
I'm actually really sorry I don't have more.
It's fine. I know I'm the only person who's got
a game I'd love.
Yeah, but I'd just play Enemy Unknown or Enemy Within first. But yeah, such a good game.
Wait, why would you say that before we?
Because I think those two, because Enemy Unknown and the expansion Enemy Within, I think are better games, or at least for newbies.
Okay,
that's how I got started. Put it that way.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, moving on. Train, I think this year.
So for my number 6, we've got Deus Ex: Mankind Divided.
Oh, okay.
The original Deus Ex a few years ago. I enjoyed it. I don't think I was really old enough to fully understand and appreciate it for what it was. But I did play Human Revolution when it came out.
Yes.
I really love that, because what Human Revolution has is one of the few kind of action RPGs with multiple choices where it feels, in gameplay terms, the choices matter. Story terms, choices don't matter for shit. The idea of there was multiple ways to tackle there was no problem that could just be solved by one solution and one solution only. Everything had multiple ways it could play out. Even if something as simple as getting down a guarded corridor could be solved in 3 to 4 different ways. You always had this like nice feeling of, oh, I just slogged through this really annoying battle with these sentry turrets, and I made it through to the end of the corridor. I need to look and find there was a vent you could have gone through that would have taken you all the way around it. It would have saved you a whole lot of time. And Mankind Divided has all of these elements that made Deus Ex Human Revolution so fun. You know, returning characters, a lot of fun augmentations and upgrades. The only real thing that holds it back though is its length. It's short in comparison to the previous game. The side quests feel so much more minimalistic than they were before, and the inclusion and less areas to explore as well. It's interesting that it's a good game, but it's such a downgrade to its predecessor that it's why it's not higher on this list.
Okay, I'm not going to say anything on this game for obvious reasons, but I'll take that on board for when it becomes relevant.
You fuckers have got so much overlap. God damn it! You two specifically, Sam and Trey.
I was going to say I don't think any of my games will until a certain maybe one later that all four of us have.
I know for a fact I've got 2 more games on my list that Sam has definitely played. One of them I'm very certain he's going to put, and I'm wondering who will put it higher is now the question on my mind.
If it's the game I think it is, then it won't be the same spot.
About a year ago. Well, a year ago now, February.
Yeah.
And let's just say that I'm going to have a lot to talk about when we get to that game, so...
Okay.
And yeah, off to you, Yuki.
Right, we are on what, number 6?
Number 6.
So this is not the best free game that PS4 gave me last year, but it is the best free game that PS4 gave me that came out last year. So, Tricky Towers. It's a really hard puzzle game to explain what it is. The best way I could imagine explaining it is imagine if you were playing Tetris, but if the blocks hit each other wrong, they'd knock each other over.
Huh.
Also, there's no barriers on the side, so they can just fall off, and you're fucked.
What?
That's pretty much the basis of what Tricky Towers is. Like, there are different game modes, and some of them are just, you got to try and make your tower as tall as possible. Some of them are, you have to fit all of your pieces you have. You have a set number of pieces, you have to fit them all under this line without them falling off. Some of them is just, you take damage if any of your pieces fall off, live for longer than your opponent. Because all of this you can do in multiplayer or single player, against the CPU, or in some cases just not against anyone because it's a puzzle or whatever. But, for a game that I spent literally no money on, I spent an awful lot of hours on it. It was actually really fun. There are a lot of
actually sounds crazy fun
in it, and it just seems like such a weird idea because Tetris is such a old concept that's been re-released for so long. You didn't expect anyone to be able to do anything different with it, and I don't know, it's quite fresh to see something interesting and different with the Tetris formula,
Yeah, what if the Tetris bots really hated each other?
Yeah, that's kind of it. I mean, I don't have too much more to say on it because it's literally kind of like a small puzzle Tetris game that probably if you bought it would cost like £3, but I got it for free, so
No, it's crazy that people are innovating Tetris like 30 years on, or however old Tetris is.
I've no
older
idea
than that, probably.
But yeah, I know that when I first saw it, I saw it and I was like, well, it's Tetris. I'll play it once and probably never play it again. Several hours later, I was like, I'm going to come back and play this tomorrow.
A YouTuber whose name I can't remember once hypothesized that Tetris is, in essence, the perfect game.
Yeah.
The implication was that Tetris is a game that could be enjoyed regardless of language barrier. Like, let's say hypothetically speaking, an alien comes to Earth.
I'd say it's in a Phoenix Wright.
But you could show them...
What?
is that you could show them Tetris and they would grasp the concept of the game so easily because you don't really need instructions. There's like 2 buttons at best and colored blocks, and anyone can pick up and play. And that's why Tetris has stood the test. That's why Tetris has stood the test of time.
Yeah.
If we were to do that logic, though, I prefer match 3 games to Tetris games. If we're talking like the fucking ancient archetypes, like I really enjoyed like the match 3 grids where you can like spin them around and things like that. I know Tetris is very similar to that, but yeah, I see what you're meaning. But
It says something to me that that out of these sort of ancient archetypical games, the earliest one I can remember playing is Mahjong.
Good old Mahjong.
I love me some fucking Mahjong.
Is that how you pronounce it? I've always heard it as Mahjong.
What, Mahjong?
Oh.
Yeah, it's a silent J.
I mean, it would make sense for it to be. I've never heard anyone say
I've heard it pronounced Mahjong and Mahjong, but Mahjong just sounds wrong to me.
Oh, I've only ever heard it.
It sounds
so.
wrong.
Haha.
Very nice.
Hey,
nice.
the 3 simultaneous groans. I am the best. Right.
Yeah.
Was there anything else you want to say?
Six, Reese?
Oh, my 6. Here ends my fucking weird territory.
Really?
Yeah. I'm gonna describe the plot of this game before I say the title, because if I just say the title first, I'm gonna get shit for it. Basically, the concept is: what if Lucifer was real, but he was trapped inside an arcade machine and was like the worst game designer ever? Like, just so incompetent, but also very needy. But like still as evil as you would conceptualize Lucifer to be.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the basic premise of a game called Pony Island.
What?
Yeah, Pony Island. You heard me right.
It's spelled Pony though, is it? It's like Poni, I think.
No, it's a game that at the least at the start is about ponies, the animal.
Oh.
You just little rainbow pony, and you're jumping over the barricades, and then suffice to say, because Lucifer's in it, it gets a little bit weirder and it gets a little bit freakier. The game plays with you. I don't want to spoil exactly what it does or how it plays out, but the game plays with you in ways that the only time I've ever heard of anything like this sort of meta game in a game kind of thing is the old, I think it's a Metal Gear, where you have to plug your controller into port 2 so you don't have your movements read or whatever it is.
Metal Gear does that a lot.
You would like Eternal Darkness, which is a GameCube horror game that also has that level of messing with you.
Yeah, I'm really reluctant to say exactly what it does, but it's like that brought into the next generation. It's £4 on Steam. Despite it being my number 6, it might actually be the game I'd recommend the most on my list.
I'm just flicking through the screenshots of it on Steam, and like I'm having to restrain myself from just interrupting you, going, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, it gets pretty weird. Please don't be put off by the title, because I've said, like one of my favorite games of the year is Pony Island for sure, and people have reactions, and I understand those reactions, and I partially think it has been titled that so that you are thrown off when Pony Island starts doing the illegal donuts on you, whatever the fuck it's called. That's not actually what it's called, but like
the illegal donuts.
The illegal donuts is when a game starts messing with you. Illegal donuts. I'm copywriting this term.
I've never heard that phrase before, but I'll happily adopt it into my personal vocabulary.
I've just made it up. But yeah, that ends the weird trio, I feel like, on my list. I'm guessing no one else has played Pony Island, so I'm not going to open it up.
I haven't played it, but I have seen it like highly on other people's written down top 10 lists of the year. So it's good to have some context to it now.
Yeah, it's puzzle-ish if you're wondering what the genre is. But also, there's a couple of different things every now and then thrown in, and just Lucifer as just a shitty game designer, but desperately needing positive feedback for all of his shitty games is just a wonderful character. I love him so much.
Okay.
I've got to be honest, when you first said Pony Island, I was thinking, is that like a sequel to Dog Island? One of the greatest Wii games of all time.
It's like ponies with gigantic noses.
But I guess not, but oh well.
I was wondering if it was a Monkey Island send up.
Oh, true, yeah.
I still need to play the Monkey Island games. I've heard good things.
Yeah.
You should play the first two, and then everything after that's just kind of here.
You should watch them at AGDQ like I do every fucking year, and I'm delighted every year.
Fair enough. Right, I guess we're moving on to number 5. We're at the halfway point.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 5, Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth.
Oh, yes.
Now, this game rekindled a long, old love of mine for Digimon. And I'm a bit shameless putting it as high on the list as I have.
Oh, wait till you see where it's on my list.
For Christ's sake, you two.
This is the last one, I swear.
Yeah, all right.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's just, what can I say? But in terms of what the game is, it does tell a very, very good, engaging story with some kind of bungled translation errors in it, and the fact that everyone's actually speaking Japanese, despite the fact that it's because they couldn't actually afford to dub it. But very good story. Actually, raising up the Digimon is like it never quite feels tedious, but you're always got a goal to work towards because you've got your Digivolution requirements for different forms. You want to find out what they are. You want the cool shit from the anime, various series of anime, and it plays with the concept of kids with personal monsters who can wreck shit in a digital realm. Not quite to the extent that Tamers as an anime did, and that's why Tamers will always be my favorite. But it plays enough with the concept enough that it sort of refreshened the show for me, and I don't know. I've always loved Digimon. I've always said it's had better shows than games, and now I'm glad that it's got a really good game. So yeah, no, very good game. Happy to put it on the halfway mark.
What platform is it on?
It's on PS4 and I think the Vita.
It's on the Vita as well as a digital download.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good games for the Vita that usually get ported over to the PS4.
Oh, maybe if the Vita had sold, I have a lot to say about Cyber Sleuth, but we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait, and you can try and guess to see how high it is on my list.
Much higher than me, I presume.
Are you about to mention it, Train? Is it
No.
your number 5? Oh.
My game. Oh, this is like I lied when I said there's no more overlap. Here is another overlap.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Nice.
No, it's this one, and then it's Cyber Sleuth. But I'm not going to say where Cyber Sleuth is. All right. Final Fantasy 15.
Hey.
Final Fantasy 15 has always been an interesting game to me. It's had a troubled past, as have many of us. It came from a broken home. There was a bit of a divorce between, the original game and what it came out to. And I always find it astounding as to how good it actually is, because I was dreading 15 after everything that went into its production, all the horror stories, all the screw-ups, all the going back. It's a game that also resented
into a musical.
Also resented it because it's kept me from getting games like Kingdom Hearts, because I guess I can't really fault Square. They're ambitious, but they take on far too many huge projects.
Yeah.
They need to, work more on their solo stuff. They need to reduce the number of stuff they're doing, I should say. And 15 has a lot of good things going into it. It's got a lot of, it looks fantastic. Square always produce, Square's main thing is they produce beautiful looking games, but that doesn't always necessarily make a game good. 15 has a very unique and interesting battle system for Final Fantasy. You can see a lot of the Kingdom Hearts pedigree has gone into its designing of the way it plays. And I mean a lot. It does have a fair amount of issues. That's not for debate. It is unfinished. There's elements to it that I wish had been refined more. I didn't like the summoning mechanic being the way it was. The car, while fun, interesting enough to use around, always just one of my big things about sandbox games, and it's like my one rule of game design if you're going to design a sandbox game is that momentum and travel is the most important thing. How fun it is to get from point A to point B, because if you don't have it's not fun if it's not so fun to travel that you just kind of want to just skip it, as I often found myself doing in later point of 15. And I think you've kind of inherently failed in that game.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting take, and I've never thought. But yeah, I think like thinking about it, I agree.
Yeah.
Like that is so core to sandbox stuff because like it's all right to say, well, you can go anywhere and do anything, but what if just going anywhere isn't fun?
Primary example I always hold up as a sandbox game. I think as a kind of style of how to do momentum done well is always the Spider-Man games, because even if the game itself is not good, web swinging is such an inherently fun and unique mechanic that it's always just fun to go around the city, right?
Yeah.
The enemies you fight might be terrible, the story might be garbage, the voice acting might be atrocious, but just that pure rush of going from point A to point B is good. So the game has got that advantage versus, like, say, the first Saints Row game. All you can do is drive in a terribly controlled car, and it's not fun. And that also impacts the game being not fun. And they fixed that later with more variety, more fun and unique ways to travel. And that's, to me, that is core one. How do you make a sandbox game good? You make travel good. You focus that, and once you've got good travel, then the rest of it falls into place.
I think that's a really good point. Unless you had something else to say, you mentioned something when Sam mentioned it on. I wanted to chase you off
that's
now.
for a different game we'll get to.
Okay.
That was about Square and its consistency. Oh, there's a very good reason I mentioned that in regards to a different game that's higher on the list.
I still wanted to chase you up about something you said about Final Fantasy 15.
Go for it.
And this isn't a gotcha at all. I'm genuinely asking because I think you've got good opinions on stuff. But when you were talking about Final Fantasy 15, you said there's a lot of cross promotion in like actual products in there, and you said that was fantastic. But when you talked about Ratchet and Clank, one of your problems with Ratchet and Clank, that it was tied into a movie, and you didn't agree with it being tied into a movie. I wanted to ask you, like, how do you do that well, and how do you do that badly?
To do it in the way the Final Fantasy 15 did it, everything is built around the game itself. The prequel film feeds into the game. Perhaps you can argue it feeds too much into the game in that it's almost required watching, but not really, because I saw the movie after playing the game and I didn't have any issues. The primary product should be what everything feeds into and everything wants to promote. And while in essence they do help build the world, they help, they get you interested, they help pull people in. It's not to the Ratchet and Clank problem where between the two of them you can clearly see where one succeeds, the other fails. They don't feed off of one each other. They're struggling with each other to try and get that audience and trying to do the same thing. Whereas Kingsglaive Final Fantasy 15 doesn't have that problem. It's telling a part of the Final Fantasy 15 story that isn't really covered by the game. So they complement one another as opposed to trying to clash with one another in doing the same thing.
Yeah,
is what it comes down to.
In Final Fantasy, it was like designed to match, whereas in Ratchet and Clank, it was like two separate design teams.
If you play the game, if you watch the movie, there's no surprises in the game, and vice versa. And there's elements of the movie I like in that it more focuses on the development of the two core characters and their friendship, and a reason as to why they stay together. But that's not present in the game itself. And there's a lot of like fluff in the game that is there because otherwise you'd have like a 2-hour game, and that's not good. Otherwise you just go and watch the movie. So it's like that's why it's not good for Ratchet and Clank, but great for Final Fantasy 15 in that regard.
That's fine. That's a good answer. I was like genuinely asking, like, ha, you fucker.
Okay then, so it's up to Yuki for his number 5.
Before I mention my number 5, you just mentioned about sandbox games movements and then mentioned Saints Row. The best free game that I got from PS4 that I didn't get to talk about was actually Saints Row Get Out of Hell. Because I never played Saints Row 4, 5, whichever one was the one before that.
It's 4.
But Get Out of Hell came out somewhen, I guess. I don't know when it came out. And they gave it away as a free game, and I thought, I'll give it a shot. I mean, I don't know, I've probably missed some stuff. That game had the funnest movement I've ever seen in a video game, and I really wish I could have talked about it, because I had so much fun just playing that game. Like, there are these orb things you can collect, and I remember playing Crackdown and absolutely hating having to try and collect like 900 of these stupid orbs. I was like, this is not fun to try and do this. And they put 900 orbs in this game. I was like, there's no way I'm going to want to do this. within like 20 minutes, I was like, I'm going to collect every one of these orbs before even finishing the story, because this is so much fun just moving around everywhere. I think you're completely right. It's sandbox games. Movement is the important thing. So
Part of why I like it's part of why Gravity Rush made it onto this list, because it's such a fun and unique way to traverse around the city that you just enjoy it. Like, there was plenty of times where I was like, oh, there's something else I need to do. I'll just play Gravity Rush and dick around in the city, because that is the core of sandbox games. If you don't have that, if it's just it's kind of why GTA 4 failed to a lot of people.
Yep.
Because like it's such a slog because basically your only options to travel are by car, by boat, and by helicopter, and helicopter and boat are limited in other regards. So mostly you're traveling by the car, and while the driving mechanics aren't great in that game, it's also just repetitive, because it's just like, oh, drive from here, okay, drive there. Versus other, like, I guess the superhero style sandbox games where there's variety, stuff you can do. Shadow of Mordor is a good example of another game that had fun momentum and movement around the sandbox.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
So-
on to my number 5 then, I guess. Speaking of movement, who likes walking?
Oh boy.
Pokemon Go.
Oh,
Okay.
So a lot of what I wanted to say about this game, to be honest, Reese has already completely said it. Like, the game itself is shit, and I'm not going to try and defend and say, man, what fun gameplay. I really like sliding my finger from the bottom of the phone to the top and then watching my Pokeball break on this Pidgey. It's great fun. But the concept of Pokemon Go is something that I've wanted since childhood. I remember when they first announced the game and they were like saying the game was coming out and everything. I was messaging Sam really excitedly saying, dude, we got to go like around the forest of our hometown, like my old hometown. Because it's like, I always remember like us as kids on the playground at school, like, you know, pretending to catch Pokemon and stuff. And now we actually can. And I was so excited for it. I got to say I was disappointed that the game itself was kind of shit. But the concept is still enough. And like, I remember playing with Toby and Danielle, because they live in the same town as me. We went round and, you know, tried to like take gyms for Team Yellow, because we're the worst team of scrubs, I guess, and they never fucking take gyms. Useless.
Hashtag dab.
But I remember that, you know, going around like the park and. Okay, to be honest, this area doesn't really have any good Pokemon at all. Like, we found a Dratini once, and I found an Owenite like twice, and then Rattatas. You'd think I'd be happy with lots of Rattatas, but there is a level of too much Rattata, you know?
So glad I've never hit that level, because I live next to an EV hotspot.
Well, all I'm going to say is a few weeks ago when I installed it on my iPhone, because I finally have a phone that could actually play it, I thought, you know, maybe I should release these Rattatas. I have over 700 Rattata candy now.
Oh
Fuck.
my god.
But yeah,
You know-
the concept of the game is fun, and I like the social aspects, because I'm probably the least social person out of our friend group, I'd say. I mean, I don't know, I can't really comment on Train because we've never met in real life, so I don't know. But out of the people I've met, at least, I'd say I'm probably the least social. Right? Would you
I
agree?
mean, maybe.
I feel like your social cold, whereas like sometimes you will just have like 4 people at your house, and I'd consider that ultra social. And then like sometimes no one hears from you for a week, and that's obviously the least social. So like I feel like you're just like inconsistently social.
Yeah, I
That's
guess
how
that
I'd
makes more
describe
sense.
it.
It's more of a, my head wants me to be social, but then my brain's like, nah, stop that. People are weird. You don't want to talk to them. Trust
You
me.
get tired out of it easy. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, well that's fair. Either way, it was definitely an interesting experience, and if they ever patch the game to not be shit, I will continue to play it, because it is still kind of fun in concept, if nothing else. And you know what? Even without playing with friends or whatever, my mother actually enjoys it. So like sometimes we'll be going out shopping or whatever, and we're like, let's see if we can find something that's not a Rattata, you know? Like, it's just
Oh, yeah.
because I actually have
It's
a mother
like,
who knows Generation 1 of Pokemon, which I guess is lucky for me. So
Well,
Like, quickly ask before we talk shitloads about it. Is Yuki the last person to have it on their list?
probably, yeah.
yes.
yeah, I don't have it.
Oh yeah, Train hasn't played it. Good, that means we can talk about it loads. But yeah, I'm totally with you. My nephews are like super into it, and it's like it's bonding in a way over video games that is also outside that just did not seem possible even like a couple of years ago. And so the fact that we're there now, and you can just go out with the chaps, and they're like ecstatic because it's a bell sprout, and they can't catch the bell sprout, but wow, it's got funny lips. Is just, it's the best thing. It's brought genuine joy that I did not think video games would really be capable of until VR became like way more easily accessible.
Yeah.
So I'm totally with you on you going out with your mum to hunt, and I'm the same with my nephews and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, to mention a very specific time of which Sam was present, and Reese, you were meant to be present, but I guess you just didn't. We all went to a city somewhere near us, and there was a whole bunch of us. We met Josh for the first time, because we'd never met him, even though he lives kind of close to us, I guess. But, you know, we only knew him through train. And there was a whole bunch of us, and we just got together and we were like, you know what? Let's just try and catch as many Pokemon as we could. It ended up just being Voltorbs, but
I got a Magnemite.
It was a Mr. Mime. You know, that was interesting. It was different. It was just fun, you know, just giving us a reason to go somewhere like that. Whereas obviously normal people probably just do that all the time anyway. Just meet up with friends.
What do the normal people do?
That's the thing. It facilitates friendship.
Yes.
And, like, that cannot be a bad thing. And like, I saw Sam while I was only in Chai to play Pokemon. I mean, I was in doing voluntary work, but I was like, I'm also going to stay for like 5 hours to play Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
And Sam was in Chai getting a phone for Pokemon Go.
Yeah, and just round the corner and, oh shit, it's Reese.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, let's sort this, old buddy of mine who I've not seen IRL for ages.
Yeah.
So like, even accidentally, it's creating moments like that. And there are like people who do not consider themselves gamers at all, who are like, oh, you fucking Charmander, get back here, you dick. Like, they're having the jock-ish attitude to little pixels on screen, which is adorable, and I encourage anything that does that.
It's got such a wide audience that makes this particular point a great follow-on from that. Because the other week on the bus, I had a wonderful chat with a nun who was playing it.
Wow.
It's great when old people are playing it, isn't it?
Yeah,
like literally. Sorry, carry on with your nun story, then I'll jump.
But she was fiddling around with the phone before getting on the bus, and I was very confused because I didn't think nuns did phones. I don't know. I know I'm horrendously badly educated, but she got on the bus and I saw over her shoulder, just like, oh, it's Pokemon, and she was getting kind of frustrated at it because it's still that thing where the bus was going too fast for it to actually get anything.
Yeah.
So I sort of, I swallowed every bit of antisocial rage I've built up over nearly 25 years of existence, and just sort of struck up a conversation about Pokemon Go with a nun on the bus. And it was great.
It's great when you can get into those sorts of moments, though. I saw someone, an old person who was playing Pokemon Go, and she was like talking to literally anyone who knew about it. And like, she literally, I won't do an impression, but she literally said, like, it's easier to catch if you spin them, but my arthritis doesn't like it when I do that. And like, that's so not a sentence I ever thought I'd hear from someone playing Pokemon. I was like, thank you for bringing me this brilliant experience.
Pretty good.
You've hijacked your list, Yuki, I'm sorry.
You haven't hijacked my list. We're all talking about the same game. Basically, at the end of the day, Pokemon Go is a bad game, but it's a fantastic experience. So it was a fantastic experience. I guess it's not so much now, but it's still kind of lingering, I guess.
You can still go out and plan these meetups and stuff.
I guess, except for all of my friends don't play anymore, so...
I still play a little bit.
I mean, I didn't play until we went to Brighton. And granted, I still don't, but I made sure it worked.
You didn't play while we were there, because you were just like, I'm fed up with this, let's just go to the
No, because my phone... Well, it doesn't suck, but it's like...
No, I know what you mean. My phone sucks. It's fine. It's cool. I'm planning on just getting a better one because this year, I think my list for next February when we do this for this year is going to include a lot more mobile games.
Yes, I already think that the one that might make the list next year. I think
two are going to make mine, and one's probably going to make trains as well. Potentially.
Jesus, mobile game on trains list.
Yeah, so one of the two that will be on mine, and I'm pretty sure the other one of the two will be on yours.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my number 5. So Reese,
Okay. I'm glad Sam has talked about XCOM already. There's a lot of the stuff that he'd like to say about XCOM also applies to my number 5, which is Darkest Dungeon. Darkest Dungeon is on my list because it does. It's on there because I enjoy the gameplay, obviously. But like, if I had to say what I like about Darkest Dungeon in a sentence, it's that it creates atmosphere better than any other game I have ever played by quite a long way. It's a very Lovecraftian RPG. It's quite difficult. All of the creatures are like actually horrifying. Just your characters can not only die from like running out of HP, but like also there's a stress meter and they can get stressed out. If they get too stressed out, they can go insane in different ways. Like it could be masochistic, or it could be selfish, or it could just be like cowardly or something like that. And then if they get and if they get too stressed out after going insane, they just have a heart attack and instantly die. And it's the same as the XCOM thing where you can like name your units. But from what I understand, like, and Sam can correct me if I'm wrong about this, you're never forced into doing a mission with a shit team in XCOM.
Oh, yes, you can be.
Oh, okay. Well, in Darkest Dungeon, you definitely can be. And like sometimes it's like, well, I've got 9 people on my roster, and literally all of them are insane to some degree, or have just wandered off with my best equipment. But I can't just like pass time except by doing a mission. So, which 4 of you am I going to send out literally to die and not have a hope of coming back with? You just have. I love that because I do name all of my roster after people who are quite meaningful to me. My one issue is I don't feel like the roster, the amount of people you can have at once, is as much as I'd like it to be. But the game is super easily moddable, so you can change that. I changed mine to a ridiculous number, like 100, which definitely does make the game easier, but the game is bloody hard, so I don't feel bad about it. The different characters, like the idea that just your position, because you're in a line of 4 people, you're always taking 4 people, and you're always in a line. Unlike XCOM, where positioning is positioning is important in XCOM, but it's dynamic and it's 3D and there's cover and stuff. Yeah. Whereas in Darkest Dungeon, your position is limited to like what spot in the line you are. But every character completely revolves around being in the right position in a line. And if something comes and scares you out of position, you have to spend a while just sort of getting back into shape. And there are so many things that just add to the great atmosphere of the game, like how light dims down, and when light dims down, everything gets harder and everything is scoring more critical hits, and stress builds up so much easier. But also, like, it costs inventory space to carry torches, so sometimes you just have to take the fact that everything's getting darker because you don't want to carry those torches. And like the narrator is absolutely gold. When I realized that Darkest Dungeon was coming up on my list, I was like, oh shit, I've got to find like a good narrator sentence, because everything he says actually adds to the game. I don't mind how many times I hear it, but like, the cost of preparedness measured now in gold, later in blood. And it's so full on all of the time, and it never lets up. It feels like you're just evading death. It doesn't feel like, sometimes it literally doesn't feel like you're winning, even when you're clearing the dungeons and you're coming back with 4 living people. And I love that. And I'm not a horror game person either, so I wasn't expecting to love that. And I'm not saying this is a horror game, but it's certainly close to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Darkest Dungeon. Oh, so good. I actually want to play it now I've talked about it.
I gotta say, the first time I ever saw Darkest Dungeon, I looked at it and I thought, you know what? I reckon Reese will love this game. It just seems so you know.
I really did love that game so much, and like the fact that there's a character who's like really shit, but they get loads of treasure, is just like in a game that's so intense and so serious and so hard anyway. It's like, why would you do this to yourself? This is such a daft idea.
But no doubt you do it a lot, right?
Oh yeah, like sometimes I run a party with two of them.
Of course you do.
Well, the thing is like sometimes it's like, well, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna die no matter who I take. But at least if I take this group, I'll come out hella rich. And like these people will still have to die at some point because they won't make it out in any condition that they could survive another go. But like at least future generations will be provided for. But yeah, my way of recommending Darkest Dungeon to people is literally Google Darkest Dungeon narrator, find the list of and just read through them. Or if you can find a YouTube where it does it in the voice, do that. Because like I've never known something as small as a narrator add so much to a game, but it really does.
Wow.
The plume and the pistol, a fitting end to my folly, and a curse upon us all.
I will say, Reese, if you ever get the chance to play like tabletop Call of Cthulhu, I think you really enjoy it just from things I've heard from other people, because it basically sounds like that in game form.
It draws a lot on the different types of enemies, and one of them is literally the Eldritch type.
Yeah.
So like the game makes no bones about where it comes from, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
It's a love letter to that sort of thing more than anything else, and I love it all the more
letter,
for
if you
it.
will.
What's that?
Love letter, if you will.
I just said love letter, didn't I?
Lovecraft letter.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear the craft. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. A Lovecraft letter. I like it. But yeah, that's that. And also the fact that there's a boss in it. Most of the bosses, like I think there's 12, if you don't include the end game ones, and like 11 of them are really tough. But one of them, the optimal strategy is to take the guy who has a dog with him and just take 4 of that guy, because the dog is really good against this creature that is just made of meat. So like I love that just one boss can just be cheesed so easily, but all of the others are like nightmarishly hard.
That's brilliantly done.
It's so good. I'm trying to think what it's called. The Flesh something, and it's just like the idea is that the master of the castle, who's been doing like scientific experiments, every time they go wrong, he just melts them down, pours them into the drain, doesn't care about what happens, and then one day that giant lump of flesh just got enchanted.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and it's as horrifying to look as it sounds, you know?
Yeah. Jesus. Right. I'm sorry, Reece, do you have anything more to say on that? Or?
No, I told you I was done with silly territory.
Wow, okay. Right. Numero 4 it is. And okay, time to be unoriginal. Pokemon Sun and Moon for me.
Hey.
I feel like this is, if not the quintessential example of a Pokemon game, then it only comes second to Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. It's the first game in the series where I've really liked the story it told, and I've not been mercilessly picking it apart throughout the entire thing. Black and White. Don't get me wrong, I liked Black and White, but still. The new additions in terms of like the Alolan forms, if not their existence is really cool and really innovative design, then it at least bodes well for future incarnations and like other stuff we'll get in the future. I know that's a really silly quality to give it to, but it, you know, like me and Yuki at least, we talked about Delta Species for a long time when coming up with our own Pokemon game design, and now they've actually done it. So it's just like, okay, what's possible? and it's opened the ground for a lot more. The environments, it's probably the most fun I've had in a Pokemon region in a long time. The characters actually exist. Down point is the tutorial's a bit long, but a lot of the games I love have stupid long tutorials, so maybe I just have a better tolerance to that. And like the points that keep it lower on the list is mainly because, as a great example of a Pokemon game, that is also kind of what limits it. It is a Pokemon game. It is still something that we've had and done before. As good as it is, and it is really, really good. I can't push it further up on my list, personally, at least. But yeah, still fantastic game, great experience, and the competitive scene at the moment is amazing. So,
is it actually though? Because I was worried it was going to look not that good after it seemed to be so terrain focused, and I was worried that would sort of make people a bit jaded.
Terrain is a big factor of the thing at the moment. I won't deny that, but it's a lot less. You pick a terrain and it's like, remember the Weather Wars, the dark times, where if you had a weather
the dark times where everything was sunny. Yes, I remember them.
No, that was VTC. Well, I'd say arguably it was 16, but yeah. But like you picked something and and of the things that you were going to pick to support it, it was a very small pool of stuff. If you've got a Politoed there, then you're probably going to have one of maybe 3 Swift Swimmers. It kind of hurt building a team about that. Sun and Moon, like if you pick Tapu Koko for your electric terrain, it boosts up your electric moves and you can't fall asleep. And it also wipes out any other terrain that's on the field. There is a lot of things you can do with that. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you've got to use like Alolan Raichu or Kamala. Like, there is so much stuff that could benefit from it because of that 50% power boost to electric moves, which basically gives stab to anything. You can double it up with weather. One of the players I follow at the moment is using a Pelipper, because Pelipper's got Drizzle now. A combination of Pelipper, Tapu Koko, Soak, and Thunder. It is so fucking dumb, but it works. Like, it's scarfed Pelipper with Soak. But it
so
works.
It can only do Soak.
Yeah, but it turns everything to water types, and then there's Rain, like 100% accurate, electric terrain boosted Thunder off of a Tapu Koko down on something that is guaranteed to be super effective against it. Everything dies. And that is a great strategy, but it's not the only viable one. In fact, that's not the most. That is like probably like 15th, 16th on terms of viable team comps I've seen.
Right. Okay.
Like, Sun and Moon has done a lot for the competitive scene. Not in terms of the way competitive events are run at the moment, from the things I've been hearing, but it's a good format, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Looking forward to what it can add when we have all of the Pokédex to use.
Okay. I've got more to ask, but you're not going to be the only person who's got it. So.
No, I was going to say, I'm glad that you mentioned the competitive stuff now, because I'm not going to mention that at all. Not that it's on my list at all. No.
I was about to say, I was pretty sure Yuki would talk more about single player, so like my single player stuff I was going to keep for him.
Yeah.
That's probably a good idea.
Now, if I'm honest, Sun and Moon would be on my top 10 list, if not for the fact that, well, like Sam said, it's very much a Pokemon game. And while good, it's not really what I would want as a top 10. And more than that, I also knew that both of you would like have far more authority on it than I would, and there'd be literally nothing I can add to it. So it's honorably on the list, but I'm not going to talk about it for that reason.
Fair enough. But yeah, that's basically all I got to say about it. So if you want to continue on train with your number 4.
By number 4, well, this is going to surprise a whole bunch of people. It's Uncharted. I'm trying to. Well, I'm flip flopping. I have Uncharted 4, and I was debating if I wanted it on the list or not. But no, I'm going to talk about Super Robot Wars Original Generation Moon Dwellers, a game none of you will have.
Nope.
Astounding if you even knew it existed. Because, well, its English release was only for a certain number of Asian countries.
I mean, I can't speak for Yuki and Sam, but I'd be impressed if any of them could still remember all of the title.
Yeah, no, I've forgotten it already.
Okay, so to briefly sum up Super Robot Wars, it's a turn-based RPG. It's like kind of, I guess Fire Emblem would be the closest equivalent I can think of that you would have all played.
So me.
Yeah, Yuki's seen Fire Emblem.
I've played the one mobile.
But it's been a long-running series that has only had very, very, very brief attempts to leave Japan, thanks to various copyright issues with the game that are neither here nor there. Moon Dwellers is the latest install. How Super Robot Wars works is it's a crossover game where it takes like various giant robots from various anime and other video games. It puts them all together in a game and lets them battle it out and etc. in this RPG environment. And it's always been an interesting series in that regard. But very occasionally they break off and they do their own. They take all of their original protagonists from the games and put them all together in their own games. And Moon Dwellers is the most recent incarnation. It's, from everything I've seen and the bits and pieces I've played of it, it's probably one of the most I'm trying to think. I guess the most atypical Super Robot Wars you could get. It exemplifies everything that's fun about the series. It's got great art and great sprites, for considering it's had Super Robot Wars has had some issues with that in the past. The story is an adaptation of one of my favorite games in the series, J, which admittedly it's probably one of my favorite games purely because it's one of the few games I got to play in full English. The designs are still fun and interesting. The designs of all the robots and all the characters are fun and unique and interesting. The Super Robot Wars is always a series that you can say, you can look at and go, that is a Super Robot Wars design, if that makes sense to you all.
It wouldn't if I wasn't on Google Images looking at these characters.
Yeah.
And these do look like very good character designs.
The designs, it's just one of these. Super Robot Wars has always been interesting, and it's had despite the hilarious power gap between some of these crossovers they've done. Consider it I'm trying to think of a low power anime. If say Full Metal Alchemist crossed over with Majin Buu Saga Dragon Ball, right? Obviously, there's a huge discrepancy in power levels between those characters, which has never really been an issue in Super Robot Wars thanks to its RPG elements. Everything's based around numbers. And it's still maintained even in Moon Dwellers, which, like I said, to me, Moon Dwellers also holds a special place because it's a remake, essentially a remake, but not exactly, of a game I've enjoyed in the past. And, well, I can't say, you should all go and check it out, because it's not a franchise that is for everyone. It's a very interesting and fun franchise if you can get a hold of it. Certainly...
Sorry, carry on.
Certainly the Game Boy Advance games that I definitely do have full English releases and translations are worth playing.
It looks like something I would want to watch. I'm not sure I'd want to play it. I'd like to watch it, I think.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Because I have a general, I don't know what it is, a sci-fi aversion to things I play. But this does look like just daft character. Why does a robot that big need an axe? And I'm easily amused by things like that still. And it seems like this game series seems to just embrace the living shit out of that.
Glorifying everything that makes this particular genre great and enjoyable for other people. So you have basically all of the tropes you would, if you're interested in mechs at all the tropes you would anticipate from these series that are played straight, turned on their head, lampshaded, parodied. Basically anything that's been in the mech series is fair game. And anything, even tropes to anime you get messed around with all the time. It's one of the most fun and enjoyable series in how much it's willing to just mess around with its own concept and poke fun of itself. And I would, at the very least, there are adaptations of the first two original generation games that if anyone is interested would be maybe like to watch. Divine Wars isn't that great, but Inspector is pretty decent. And yeah, that's my fourth game. But it would have been Uncharted 4 until I realised that as fun as Uncharted 4 was, there was nothing more to. I didn't really feel like there was anything really more to it than every other Uncharted before it.
Okay, so you feel like you've bumped Uncharted 4 from your number 4 spot to not even on your list.
It was quite a long drop. Like I said, Sun and Moon would be on, and Sun and Moon would be on the list, but I don't have the authority to really speak on it to the length of other people, so I would just be saying, well, I really liked the game, though. It was fun. It wasn't like the other Pokemon I played.
That's basically why I put Overwatch on, but okay.
Super Robot Wars definitely seems to be, out of everything that I've heard about so far, this looks like the game I'm most interested in watching on YouTube. And that is a hell of a thing.
The only downside is because it was I think it was Singapore where the English release got, there's a bit of English in it, and the translation's not the greatest. It's understandable is the key thing, because well, you know how like the language barrier is interesting in that to a certain extent you can understand the basic gist of stuff just from the images. So having even dialogue that's questionable, you can still kind of work out how everything goes. It's like when you watch stuff that's translated into English, you're like, man, what a weird choice of phrasing on that. When they
someone did set us up the bomb.
Jesus.
But yeah, so Yuki, you're next on number 4.
Yeah, and to continue games that are most definitely not on anybody else's list.
Oh joy!
I want to point out that if we had recorded this before February, this would not be on my list because I wouldn't have played it. But it did come out last year. Dragon Quest Builders. Now, I tried all last year. It came out in like June, I think, maybe earlier. I think it was earlier than that. I think it was like March. I tried all year to get it. Every time in game, they kept saying, no, that game just sold out straight away. Because I saw it in there, I think, in March when it first came out. And I was like, oh, I might pick that up because I have a habit of never playing a main series Dragon Quest game and only playing the weird spin-off ones they do that are nothing like the main ones. So I thought I might try that. It could be a bit fun. Next time I went in there, gone. I thought, I'm sure it'll turn up again. Nope, never turned up again. And then, like, 28th of January or something, so literally, like, last week, I just happened to be in CEX, and I just saw it there, and I just instantly went, grab, buy, don't even care. And it's an awful lot more fun than I expected it to be, I gotta say. So basic concept, it's Minecraft, right? Everything's made of blocks, you build towns and stuff. It's Minecraft. But imagine if Minecraft had an actual story, not just, oh, hey, you beat the Ender Dragon, here's a stupid credit sequence that doesn't make any sense. Like an actual story. You have NPC characters, they give you quests to do, there's like a main progression of story, there's a big boss at the end, there's actual progression and not just, here's a world, do whatever the fuck you want. You can still do that, but there's actual purpose to it, you know? I've always felt like Minecraft is fun, but then at some point you're like, what do I want to do? Why am I here? Whereas this one's like, here's a reason to do something. Here's a new thing you can learn. You can't just build everything straight away. The game teaches you how to build things rather than having to look everything up online, but gradually as you go. I don't know, I find that a lot more fun, you know? And you still got all the Dragon Quest-y, Dragon Ball Z, like, art style to it, so that's always nice, I guess. Other people probably like that more than me, but it's there.
Has a very distinct style, albeit it's a very repetitive style.
It is, but I guess to me it's not so bad because I don't watch Dragon Ball Z and I don't play most Dragon Quest games or anything. I've seen it in Blue Dragon and then Dragon Quest Rocket Slime and Monster Joker, which I played once, and then that's it. So it doesn't get repetitive to me. It's fine. You know, I'm okay with it. But it's a very fun game. I think you would like it a lot, Sam.
Yeah, I've seen some screenshots of it, and like, it seems okay.
Well, I just seem to remember when we used to play Minecraft a long ass time ago, the one complaint you always had was you play it and you didn't know what you wanted to do when you were playing it because there was no like, story progression. Well, now there is. There's literally Minecraft with story progression.
Yeah, it sounds like this game is actually like giving you direction,
yes,
and not just like opening the sandbox so wide that all of the sand falls out and you don't know what to do with anything.
Exactly. Yeah, that's literally a good analogy for it.
Fair enough. I might have a look into that.
Wow, if you can find it.
Yeah.
I mean, after I actually finished the main story of the game, which might I add, I've only done like the first chapter because I started it last week. So, I probably genuinely, I'm enjoying it enough that I think it would have been higher. But having only played it, I mean, I've already played like 20 hours, but having only played it for like a week, I haven't got the scale of the whole game. For all I know, is right at the end might be really shit. I remember the first big boss battle was actually awful, which was the last time I played it, so that was kind of disappointing. But everything else is really fun, so I'll let it off.
Fair enough.
Well,
okay.
Off you go.
Am I jumping in? Okay, cool. As I said earlier, and I don't think we were recording for, I don't value story in a game much at all. So like the primary things that I look for are just like visceral enjoyment, fair challenge, and comedy, and this hits a couple of those buttons. My number 4, up to I believe, I've got Move or Die, which is the party game which every Mario Party game should have been but wasn't. The emphasis is there's no like overboard kind of thing. It's just the mini games, and I think that is already the way it should be. You should focus just on that. And as well as the different mini games, there's what are called mutators, which are different ways to affect the rules. And everyone takes turns picking the mutators. And some of them are quite simple, like, oh, you can double jump, which is, everyone understands what that is. And sometimes it's just like everyone is underwater, and so you're dealing with water physics. And like when you're trying to do a speedrun obstacle course, where often a lot of the ceiling kills you, but having water physics dramatically changes how the game works. It's so simple, and it's so good, and it's so replayable. A couple of our friends have got it. Toby and Danielle have got it, and they really enjoyed it. Definitely a big part of why I enjoyed it is that it specifically has connectivity features with Twitch, and there are like specific games you can play if you have a Twitch audience where your audience can influence the game. So like there'll be different there'll be like a seesaw, and like if the chat types in left, it will tilt the seesaw to the left, and if they type in right, it will tilt it to the right. And you got to stay on the seesaw. Or there'll be like all of the background will be covered in different letters of the alphabet, and if the chat enters that letter of the alphabet, that square just blows up. And so you've got to make sure that you're not anywhere where the chat is. But of course, if you tell chat that they can just mash the keyboard, they'll fucking mash the keyboard, and you won't be able to go pretty much anywhere, and it just becomes a stupid, hectic mess. It's one of the 2 sort of party-ish games that I've got on the list. It's certainly the sillier of the 2. The other one is coming up straight after Move or Die. But yeah, it's a good game. I'd recommend it even more if you are a streamer with any sort of audience. I know that's a very specific recommendation. And it's got what other people have said about Overwatch, where it's better if you can get friends in on it.
Yeah.
Because like, I don't know, some of the games are very, very silly, and you also have ways people over, which is always good. But it's like you're only screwing them over for like a maximum of 5 points, and normally the amount you need to win is like 50. So it's not like it ruins the whole game, like how screwing the rules did in Mario Party sometimes, where it's like, oh, all the things you need to collect, you've lost them all now. You've wasted half an hour. And every game like lasts a maximum of half a minute. And so if you dislike the game, the mini game you're on, like, who cares? It's going to be over in a second.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's me on Move or Die.
Does sound pretty fun.
Samuel?
Check it out.
Yeah. I have just been called for dinner. Would we be able to put a stopper in this and then come back to it in a bit?
I've got no problem with that, sure.
Yeah, okay then.
That's not good.
Plus, I was worried about the recording kind of overloading.
It is like
Yuki's
2 hours
hard
long
drive.
at the moment. Join us after the advert break, but there isn't an advert here, and it'll just instantly cut back, probably.
Go to the lobby.
The top 3s and the group top 10.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to be honest, I
Okay.
could just do this as 2 videos if that would be easier for people to watch. Because some people
Honestly,
might not
it's
be
up to
interested
you.
in all of it. This is quite long. It's 2 hours.
I do have to disappear, so see you guys in a bit.
All right, see you,
All
Sam.
right.
And
Oh.
see you other people as well.